Well, we'd like to welcome everybody to L3's Continual Development course. This is session 8, and our topic today will be covering F1 flagrant fouls, intentional fouls, depending upon what level and what side of the ball you work on. And we will cover some information real quick at the beginning of the meeting, and then we're going to utilize that information while we're breaking down the clips today. We have 4 clips we're going to cover, and here's the order we'll cover them in. That is the order that we will pull the clips up. All right. Without any further ado, let's cover some information real quick.
For those of you that aren't talking, if you don't mind just muting your line so that we can hear, that'd be great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, B. When we're talking about discussing flagrant and intentional or even disqualifying fouls, there's one thing that's consistent in all levels, from college, men and women, and even high school, and that there are certain terms that are pretty consistent at all levels. And I believe that we can utilize those terms when we are adjudicating plays, when we're interpreting plays. I think that would help us with our consistency. A perfect example with women, we no longer have the flagrant foul, but we brought back the intentional foul. With the intentional foul, we just have to realize that what we're looking for is both excessive and unnecessary. And if you look at the men's rule, you'll also notice for NCAA men, you use the terms excessive and or unnecessary. We scroll down to National Federation, same thing. The term we're looking for, violent or excessive contact of an excessive nature. So there's a consistency on all sides of the ball that if we realize that when we are interpreting plays, I think that will help us tremendously. Now we're going to roll into our first clip. And Josh, are you with us?
Hey, Wayne.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, Ariel.
Great. So, Josh, we're going to I'm going to start with your clip first. We're going to play it through, and then we'll come back and walk through, and you can share with us how you interpreted the situation.
Okay. So, the play's going to happen opposite table, free throw line extended.
Okay, Josh, you want to break this down for us?
Sure. So this is a good game here. 2 great partners working with. The out of bounds play comes up top to the top of the key. Ball is trying to get into the post there. Defender bats the ball, and it kind of caught me off guard. It kind of happened right on top of me. As she's just about out of bounds, see both arms extend, and like I said, it kind of caught me off guard, and I was like, all right, we have a foul. Girl in purple was not happy, and my R came running into the play. As me and Eric meet right here, I asked Eric, I said, did I see that right? We're going to definitely go to the monitor. And he said, yeah, you saw it right. He goes, I want you to blow your whistle, cross it up, and we're going to go with an intentional foul. And then we'll go to the monitor and look. And his reasoning behind that was because if we did have a monitor at this game. If the monitor was grainy or we couldn't see it, he was certain that it was an intentional foul.
Okay, so we see this play, and I know we have our checklist, right, of what an intentional foul is. So I guess we have to ask ourselves, would we all agree that this contact here is unnecessary?
Yes.
Two hands pushed from behind in the back.
Okay, do you guys have any observations as far as how the official that was at lead came running to have that conversation with Josh? And what that conversation was about?
It was urgent. He got there because it was urgent to get there.
Okay, so what part of this made it urgent? Was it the fact that they had been pushed? Was it because there were other players in the vicinity? What to you, Latrice, makes this an urgent situation?
Two hands in the back and the fact that the other players were there, because we don't know if the other players are going to retaliate on the young lady that pushed her in the back.
Okay. Okay, and Josh, you explained that this surprised you, right? And why would you say it surprised you? Was it because the players were running towards you, or were you just surprised?
For me, this was my first intentional foul. And it just kind of happened right on top of me. It was a clean game up until this point. And so I guess that's probably what surprised me most. It just happened right on top of me and fast.
Okay, would you say that you were in a dependable position before this happened?
I feel like I probably could have been back a little more, maybe.
Does anyone have any feedback on that?
Hey, Josh, this is Eric.
Eric?
As that play's coming to you, in a perfect world, I'd like to see you start to back up the fact that you've got two players coming at you, you've got the ball coming at you, so that way you can obviously try to get a big picture as you can. And then it seems like with this snapshot here, it seems like that you are focused with possibly her feet maybe going out of bounds, what it looks like that you're looking at. So that's why I say if you step back, that'll also help lift your eyes, if you will, that Al Batista always talks about, and it just also broadens your vision, in my opinion.
Gotcha. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Garrick, I agree with that 100%. We could have. Oh, go ahead.
I mean, I hope that answers Blanca's question, or talking about how we can get better. I'm still trying to process to showing the intentional, though, I guess, because maybe I'm wrong, and maybe Al can jump in here, maybe Mike Milione, anyone else. I think you just got to get to the monitor, get the team separated, because if you're going to do this at the spot, I think you got to bring your third in. He or she may not have an opinion, but they may. And then because he or she may not think that women's game, that this is intentional. And it's just y'all's to refereeing. And then you just show it. And now, I don't know, to me, I think you just get the players to their designated spots, and then you just go to the before you go to the monitor, you get the whole crew together, and this is what I have. What do you have? This is what what do you have? Okay, I don't have an opinion. And then you go, then you can go from there. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Mike?
Garrick, I think you've got a good point.
No, I agree with you. I mean,
Mike, there,
especially with how long.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Amy.
No, go ahead. Knock yourself out. I'm just jumping in.
No, thanks, Amy. No, whoever. Yeah, I just.
Yeah. No, yeah, I was gonna say I agree, and if you think about it, if you have the quick conversation, maybe you come out with the intentional immediately, but like the time that you guys are talking there, I think you just go to the monitor with the foul call, and then you can upgrade. I think it just looks better.
I agree. I'm okay. Yeah, if you do it quickly, then yeah, I agree with. I agree with that.
Amy, were you going to say something?
Well, just some things that I've been thinking about as we do more of these Zoom calls, and something I was on a call last night, and it kind of relates to this. A couple things. I know the change from when I started officiating and not having a monitor to how we have a monitor in almost every game. Even in the NAIA league I supervise, we have a monitor in those games. And I think we have to be careful not to be crazy dependent upon it. Like, I know I'm not nearly as good with clocks now as I was 10 years ago because I know I can just go to the monitor. So one thing I'd say for me personally, if I know in my gut that this is an intentional or a flagrant foul, I don't have a problem with immediately giving the signal, because if you get to the monitor and there is no angle on this, it's harder to now have a discussion and upgrade. If in your core you know this is an intentional or flagrant on the spot. Just something to keep in mind, that we don't become too dependent upon the monitors on these plays for this or clocks or any of it. I do like that the trail stayed at midcourt. Well, these two, just to make sure somebody's watching the players. But yeah, then if we're gonna go to the monitor, then we all need to have a look at it and go.
Hey, Blanca, can I say?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Eddie.
So I agree with Amy. I like that the other official actually was on midcourt watching the players. However, what I disagree with was that third official not having an opinion on the play. So although I do like the fact that there's two officials talking about the play, I don't agree with the calling official coming out with an intentional foul without actually having that third official having a opinion on it. Whether he or she does have an opinion on the play or not, I think at this point, if we're upgrading opinions of all three officials in this, so although we're looking and we're looking at the players, them two deciding on what they have, I think they need to ask where they play. So I would have liked for that third official to have an opinion on the play before they decided something.
Was there a monitor in this game? Sorry, I missed that part.
Yes, there was.
There was, okay. So let me ask this question. If you've made the decision as the calling official that and ideally, if you're gonna make that call, you make it immediately, right? Before we have a discussion. But if you know this is a two-hand push, intentional or flagrant foul, and you go here on the floor, would you go to the monitor on this?
If we have the monitor to use, Amy, is it best to use the monitor for something like that?
I'm just asking, like for me philosophically, if I see this two-hand push in the back and there's really nothing else going on, we don't think that we've missed a scrum. If I come out on the floor and immediately go here,
mm-hmm.
I'm owning that call. So the piece about bringing the third in, I'm going to take it. Like, I've decided this is an intentional foul, two hands in the back. There's a reaction. Nope, intentional. I'm probably not going to the monitor. I'm probably going down, shooting my free throws and putting it in play. But that's just one thought process on this. Now, if we're not sure and we're going to go to the monitor, then I want everybody to have a look at it. But just different thought process there. And I'm not saying I'm right. It's just a different way to look at it.
Well, Amy, I believe that's an excellent point, because here's our question. We've made the call on the floor. We've given the intentional foul signal on the floor. So what is going to be our rationale for going to the monitor? Are we going to see to verify the call that we just made? Can we change that call? Do we believe there's something additional to where it could rise to the level of disqualification? And on this play, it doesn't appear to be. So once again, we have to decide why we're going and what's our rationale for going. And because we've already made the decision to signal on the floor. So I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. But I agree also that if we are unsure and if we don't signal intentional foul on the floor, yes, let's go take a look at it if we believe that it could rise to that. But at this point, we're just going to verify what we've already communicated.
Okay, now another little thing I guess that would be good to talk about. We see here that I guess it was a white player pushes a blue player, or whatever player gets pushed. From what I've learned is whenever this happens, we should go to the player that got pushed, right? Because they're most likely going to be the ones to go and retaliate. Is that everyone else's thinking as well when you see it or have a situation like this?
Yes.
Yes, yes, Blanca. And like once again, I know we're all probably Zoom weary, if you will, because we've all been on a lot of calls, and I can't remember which Zoom calls we've been on, and I've said it. Not that this is not this particular play, but let's say there is a harder foul, harder push, maybe. The last thing we want to do is, if we do go after the girl that's on the ground or the one who was offended, that's what we want to do is put our arms around them, because now they can't protect themselves, if that makes sense. So you just need to have a presence. And I would definitely get in the way of the person that got, flagrantly fouled or intentionally fouled. I just wouldn't put my arms around them.
That's good. And Al mentioned in the chat that this is something really important to talk about during the pregame. Because I know a lot of the times we don't expect this kind of stuff to happen, but when it does, we have to have a plan in place and be ready to execute that plan as a team. So I thought that was really good. Does anyone else have any other observations or questions about this particular clip?
Just taking your comment about going to the victim one step further. Don't stop there. So the first person get to the victim, the next person get to the offended player, because what happens is that person who just knocked that girl to the floor in a competitive game, one of her teammates comes over and gets in her face, and we miss that because we're looking at the victim. So first person get to the victim, because they're the one that's going to jump up. The next person get to the offender to try and deter any retaliation.
That's really good. Okay.
Blanca, this is sorry.
Go ahead.
This is Jay. If you go back to the very beginning of this play, it kind of seems like the lead gets tunnel vision and loses his awareness as far as the players are concerned. He kind of just makes a beeline to the slot, almost runs into one of the red players. And the only point I'm making here is that they just slow down for the lead just a tick and get the pulse of the temperament of the players.
That's a great point. Because I know a lot of the times when we do this, we can we can make the situation look a lot worse than what it is. As soon as this happened, if you guys noticed, all the white players ran to the other side of the floor, right? So I totally agree, and just slowing down just a little bit, and then going to have that conversation with your partner. So that's a really good point. Alrighty, Wayne. You want to go ahead and move on to the next clip?
Yes, ma'am. Lauren, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Excellent, excellent. So we'll play through the clip a couple times fully.
Wayne, I think you muted yourself, Wayne.
Everything just froze for me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Wayne, are you there? Uh-oh. Okay. Okay, 1 second here. A little technical difficulties. Okay, so I'm gonna I guess we lost Wayne there. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to share my screen and see if we can.
I think he might have just came back. Oh, maybe not.
Wayne, are you there?
I think we lost him.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay, Wayne, are you still able to share it from your end, or would you like me to try to pull it up?
Hold on 1 second. Okay, can everybody see the screen?
No.
No.
Okay, let's do this. Hold on 1 second.
Wayne, do you want me to just go ahead and share my screen while you work on that? Because I have it
Sure,
pulled.
go ahead.
Okay.
Sure, go ahead, B.
Okay. Here we go. Let's see here. Okay, just let me know. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sweet. Okay, so. All right, here we go.
Oh, it's a little skippy, but okay. So if you play it back, beginning, you can see. So the play is there's a screen at the top of the key. The defender gets held up behind. They don't switch or anything. She realizes that she has no help, and then makes a desperate play to defend the shot. We went to the monitor for this particular play. We came out with a common foul. We did not make it an intentional foul. We had an observer at the game who felt that it could have, well, not an observer, but an assigner that felt that it could have gone either way and been defendable. And this is one of those plays that, looking back afterwards, I think we would have been better off going intentional foul. The criteria for intentional foul: contact designed to negate an opponent's advantageous position, which is kind of exactly what this play is. She realizes she's beat. She comes from behind. It is a play on the ball. I think it checks that box where, she almost gets to the height of the ball, and she's a far shorter player. But it's a very dangerous play. She's in a vulnerable position. We would have been better off going intentional foul in this play, I believe. I would have also liked to come in with a little bit more urgency. You'll see Trail kind of runs in there. I take steps towards it, but I wish I would have moved a little bit quicker in case something did happen. Open to feedback and advice.
Lauren,
So
did you guys go to
I'm
the
just watching
monitor and
her
have a
move
common foul?
We went to the yeah, we had a common foul on the floor. We went to the monitor and we came away with a common foul. We did not this second angle that Blanca's showing. I sent her 2 clips. We did not have this second angle at the monitor. That was one of those things that was playing on the ESPNU or ESPN3 broadcast that we weren't able to see until we got to the locker room afterwards. So I think the second angle kind of gives us a lot more with how much she cocks back her arm and kind of the wind up impact follow through over the top. And I think it's a difficult one to look at just because, like, if you look at her right arm, she gets to the ball, right? But the contact is, you know, severe and it takes away her obvious advantageous position.
So Lauren, what don't you like about your movement going in? What do you think you should have done differently? Because I'm watching it, and I mean, as soon as the contact happens, you go in there. I think at times when we go too fast, you know, if something's gonna pop off, if we go running in there, then people don't realize that, you know, we're the official. They just see something running at us, and we're more likely to get hit. So, I mean, when I watch you go in there, I think you go in with a purpose. You go in quickly, and you make your presence known without being, you know, a threat. But what would you like to see yourself do differently? Quite honestly, I don't like how the trail runs in.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think I would have liked to run in. I'm with you on that. I think that can cause some unnecessary anxiety at times, and you know, players can see somebody out of the corner of their eye running in, and it escalates things that don't need to be escalated. Maybe my first step could have been quicker because I do go in and I get to the players. You know, obviously you just always try to pick at something that you can do better. But I think I was aware of the situation. I was not aware of, I guess, truly the severity of the contact. I saw a defender that went up. They were unable, and essentially, you know, once you go up, where else are you going to go? She was going to land on her, and that's kind of how I saw the play initially. So I didn't really realize kind of her intent.
Can I say something?
Oh, sorry, Al, go ahead.
Okay. Let's run from the beginning of the play.
Okay, hold on one second now.
There's a couple of things to think about here.
Wayne, can you get yours pulled up yet, or do you want me to do it on my end?
Yes, I should have it now.
Okay. There we go.
Okay. All right. So the first thing I want everyone to do, can you back up, Wayne, to the original play? First thing I want everyone to do to get in this habit is go ahead and run it. When the foul occurs, what's on the clock? What's on the? You got 9:53:24. Agreed?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So get in the habit of that will help your clocks. Okay. The second thing, let's back up again if you can. And this is more fundamentals. And we did this all last night, Mike Million and I. The trill never gets to a dependable position up the floor. And our dependable position, home position, start, whatever you want, is a 28-foot line. Agreed?
Yes.
Okay. So Lauren's position is excellent. Nice and wide, comes in there very poised. Center is good. So those are 3 things we're looking at. Let's say we don't have a monitor, right? We don't have a monitor. The trill can really help because wouldn't you agree it's a backside foul?
Yes.
Okay, so let's look at the foul now.
Well, okay.
Can we back up? Because there's a play calling guideline in here. Okay, go. Wind up impact, follow through. Wind up, impact, follow through. There's the wind up, impact, follow through. If you can answer 2 out of 3, you got intentional, flagrant, disqualifying, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I agree with you, Al. I
And
think it's just a
Houston,
case
she's
where
in
we're
a
being too pure.
Oh, sorry. The next piece of this, watch what the player does. This is a common ploy of players after they foul like this. Now they pretend, oh, I'm going to help you up and I'm sorry. See, I think that's a ploy. The next piece of this, if you don't call an intentional or whatever you want to call it, that team said, no problem, wait till you go up on the other end. And now you're going to have even bigger problems. So those are all things to start thinking about. Does that make sense?
Yep. I think sometimes we lock into that making a play on the ball, and we give that more weight for some reason, because we just, this penalty is a bigger penalty, and so we don't want to just throw them out there. But sometimes when we say, oh, she was trying to make a play on the ball, we let that kind of guide our judgment probably too much. And that may be what happened here a little bit. Because you say she gets to the ball and gets to the level of the ball and she makes contact with the ball. But it's that other piece, the wind-up impact, of course, the shooter's in a vulnerable position. So those have to outweigh or equally weigh with making a play on the ball. Just something, again, that I think we fall into on these plays.
Yeah, that's a good point, Amy. I know that's something that, I think about at times, just being a former player or, you think it's you give them the benefit of the doubt, and really you just have to think about exactly what you and Al just said, wind up, impact, follow through, the severity of the contact. And, I agree also with what Al said about Trail being able to help. We had a discussion to go to the monitor, but if he was lower, he might have had more of an idea of the severity of the contact initially on the floor.
Yeah, I think even if you look at that low angle replay, you can't see all that happens on the back left side. So from where you're standing, I would agree it looks like a good block. Or not a good block, but a play on the ball. From right here, I mean, you see the right side of her, but you don't see the left side of her. I think when we look at the original view, that's where really all the contact occurs. So, like Al said, if he's down there, he can help you.
Yeah. Last thing, put this in your pregame. Trill and center always protect the lead's backside, and lead always protect the trill and center's front side. Backside. Because a lot of times in the lead, you as I say, you don't see that and so on. And if you don't get some backside help or info, you can only do the best you can.
Lauren, she brought up a point where when they went to replay, they didn't have that inline look. I think sometimes we, for those of us that do have the monitor, obviously it can be a great thing, but sometimes it's not, because we may not get the look that people see at home, regardless of if they even say. What you're going to see on the monitor is what people are going to see at home, and that doesn't usually happen. So that's why, for those of you on here that don't have a monitor, it's even more important to get into dependable positions so that you can have a input on plays like this. That Trail wasn't at the 28-foot, hash mark. He or she, or in this particular case, if he was there and he didn't have a monitor, I would hope they'd be able to recreate this play and go, I guess in the women's game, go intentional. So
Yeah, Garrick, that's a great point. And then another thing is too, just talking about pre-games or when the table comes in and you're communicating with the table and the replay operator, just asking them if they have any other angles than the ones that they've talked about, because this was a situation where they were showing this angle, on the broadcast that we were not getting at the monitor. And I don't know, Amy or anybody on the call, if you have any advice on that. I've heard kind of you have to be very specific with the language that you use, just because they're not allowed to tell you, oh, I have this extra look, because then that's seen as an favoritism potentially towards one team versus the other, because they're trying to provide you with another look. You have to make sure you ask the right questions to get those looks.
Lauren, to be honest with you, and Mike, and I think Hunter Allen's on here, and I've never heard that. Whoever's the crew chief on a game on the men's side at least, and I'm sure you guys do it on the women's side as well. Whoever the crew chief, they go over and find out how many looks we have. Do I need to talk to anyone? Is this coming from the truck? Those type of things. And even if this is a TV game and they don't have the look that you want, we can even use our TV personalities, because it's a courtside, the rule, and Al can correct me, any monitor that's courtside, we are allowed to use.
Right. Can I say something real quick, guys?
That's Hunter.
This is something that happens way too often in our game, where we don't get the angle that we need at the monitor. And in the locker room before the game, when the DV Sport or the monitor representative comes in, I want to know every camera that's in the building. I don't care if it's going to the truck, if it's going to you. I want to know every camera that's in the building. And if I don't feel like they're telling me, when I go out there pregame, I'm going to look around the arena and I'm going to find every camera in the building. If there's a camera on the backboard, and a camera above the goal, and a camera behind the pad, I want to know all three of those are there. And then I'm going to go to the table and I'm going to say, hey, can you see that camera that's on that backboard? Hey, can you see that camera that's behind the pad? Sorry, my dog.
I think it's important as crew chief, when you go over to the table, to run through your angles. I almost always say, hey, can you show me what angles you have? I'll ask to speak to the producer, and I'll ask for the producer's name just to try to make a connection there. Hey, Jeff, can you show me the angles that we've got tonight? And hey, Jeff, if you see something that you think will help us in a situation out here, let us know. I try to open that door of communication. But it's also important for you to know what angles are there. And to Lauren, to your point, then if they're not showing you something, maybe like with clocks, hey, can you show me the baseline angle from the other end? Like, if you know what angles are out there, then you can direct them, because a DV Sport operator, or in arenas that we don't have DV Sport, and you have some college kid that's just working on their in-house production, they may not realize that that angle from the other end could help you. So if you know what you have, then certainly you can ask, hey, show me the baseline from the other end. Show me the overhead from the backboard. Show me the wide angle mid-court view. You can direct them that way. And I will also say, do you have anything else? Like, especially on our intentional fouls, or we're trying to out of bounds plays that are tough. Do you have any other angles? Like, I put that out there, trying to open that door for communication. Like Garrick said, I've never heard that a replay operator, a producer cannot or should not give us information. They're a part of our team. So that's that one I haven't heard. And if I found out they knew they had an angle and didn't give it to us, I would be raising hell with somebody after the game. Yep. So it surprises me that thought process is out there.
I agree, Amy. And I guess just to button tie this up, and so Wayne can get to the next video, is we got to be in dependable positions for those of the people on here who don't have that don't have replay. You just have to, you got to do your homework early in a front court set and get to the positions that we're supposed to be at, so that we can. Because when I referee, and I'm sure anyone on here that referees with a referee, like we don't have a monitor. So I don't know if that's the right way to do it or not. I don't know. It seems to work for me.
That's really good. And just real quick, to take this just one step further for those of you on the call that may not have a lot of monitor experience. So what the protocol typically is on a situation like this is the crew chief would go to the monitor with the calling official. And then the third, of course, after all the teams are to their benches, right? So you send both teams to their benches. Crew chief goes to the monitor with the calling official. They go and look at the play at the monitor, ask for all the angles that you need, and then that third official would come in and then also have an opinion on the play. But I think something that's really important to note is that we got to keep it short and sweet. We have to be careful because as you start to move on, there are microphones at the table. So we just want to make sure that we're staying to the pretty much rule book verbiage, right? So if Amy were to ask me, what do I have? I would just say, or she would ask me, do I have an opinion? And I would be like, yes, I have an opinion. And then the other official would come in and then we would all get together at midcourt and then talk about what it is that we're going to do moving forward. So that was just something to share. I know that that's important for a lot of you guys to know on here. So if anyone else has anything to add as far as that goes.
I have one thing. This is something everyone can do. You could take this play, right? Like whatever, and and you could take this play and practice going to the monitor. Okay, we have this play. You understand what I'm saying? You could, and then go to the monitor. The officials go to the monitor. Then have someone time you and say, we have to get this done by 1:15. And just so you practice, because we really don't practice going to the monitor. Do you know what I'm saying? But there's really no way we can practice going to the monitor until we do it in the game. So let's do it. Let's come up with like these situations and practice it wherever. And you're saying, well, it's not coming to high school basketball. Well, in the DC area, in our elite high school leagues, they play with a monitor. So it's coming. It's going to come to all basketball.
That's really good stuff. Okay, Wayne, you want to go ahead and move on to the next play?
Appreciate everyone's feedback. Thank you.
Wayne? Okay. Let's see. We might have lost Wayne again. So what I'll do is try to share my screen again. All right. Get this queued up. Sorry guys, technical difficulties here, but we'll get it worked out.
Hey Blanca, while you're pulling that up, something. This is Kaylee. Something that I thought about that I feel like sometimes we get confused about is an intentional foul is not based on the player's intent. It's not based on her intent. So she's making a play on the ball, yes, but it's excessive, hard, unnecessary. It doesn't matter if she's trying to go for the ball or not. I think that we get confused with, oh, she wasn't trying to foul her hard or she wasn't trying to do this. And I feel like when you take that out of our vocabulary, the intent of the player, it's an intentional foul in the women's game. But I just want to make sure that's clear that the intent is not factored into our decision making on an upgrade or not.
That's a really good point. Thanks for sharing that, Kay. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right. Okay, so let's go ahead. You guys can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's see. All right, Here we go. Let me see. I'm not sure. Is this? Oh, this is Hunter's clip here. Okay, so I'll run it one more time. And then Hunter, if you don't mind just breaking it down for us, that'd be great.
All right. So, Block, if you can just keep running it back and then try to frame it, that'd be great. And I want to piggyback on kind of what we just left because this is a very similar play, I think, to the last one. And one thing that I think is important, and the last thing that was said was very similar to this, but the first sentence under flagrant fouls in our book, and I hate to bring the book out, but it is what we live by. It says flagrant fouls are personal fouls that are deemed to be a more serious offense than a common foul. So, I don't like the play on the ball thing. I agree. We get lost on that way too often. And on this play, you can see the player that gets the ball stolen and then is tracking down from behind. He does make a slight attempt to play the ball, but there's we talked about wind up, impact, and follow through. I think we have a little bit of that here. I think when we go back to the one of the bases of a flagrant foul or a flagrant one, especially in the college game, excessive and unnecessary. To me, this is definitely unnecessary. And also as well, the verbiage was added in last year, unwarranted or too much contact. So, you throwing all that together, I think that's significantly trumps the play on the ball. I personally think the debate here is between a flagrant one and a flagrant two, and I'd love to hear if anybody disagrees with that. As far as my standpoint on the play, I'm in trail now, so I'm out of the picture. So jumping into what Al was talking about, my first thought is I immediately have to recognize that we have an atypical situation that has just occurred. So now, what can I do to help my crew is the first thing that goes in my mind. Scanning the clocks is the first thing we need to do all the time, every time there's a dead ball. Now, what's the bench reaction? What's the player reaction? Because on these plays, a lot of times you're going to get a reaction from somebody. It could be players in the court. It could be players or coaches on the bench. And where I'm at, I have a big picture look to where I can help with all of that. Sometimes we're not fortunate enough to be in that situation. But, here, if you're this far away, that's really one way you can help your crew. And then the next thing, too, is we know we're going to the monitor in this game. So if you have a monitor and it's a play where you immediately know you're going to the monitor, can we get there quickly and effectively and efficiently? Because that allows us to get through the whole process in a manner that it helps the game go along smoother. If we could get the monitor queued up and we're the person running the monitor is prepared for us to be coming over there, and then we get there and maybe the play's already ready and we got all the players to their bench, we got them in their timeout areas, and we're able to get through this in a fluid process. I think that's where you come in being the third party. Whether you're the U2 or you're just the referee that's out of the way. Because on this play, my two partners are going to be the first two that go to the monitor. And, I think that's where we have to go into assist mode if we're the third. What do you guys think?
I agree with you on that. I think what happens on this play is we're not ready. I mean, look at where we are in the game.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's just started.
Basket. And so that piece catches us off guard for sure. And then to Al's point, the urgency of the new lead here. But if Hunter, I think if you're the third on this, you've got an idea of what you think this play is, right? You may not have all the information, but you're looking up the floor because you've got a transition, you're the new trail. Yep. But your gut has already told you what you think this is.
Antennas are up.
Whether it's one or two, you may not know, but we have to have a mindset of going to the monitor with already having a plan in place. Again, because we may not get the angle, but just to help expedite that as well. I I assume since you said the other two are going, you weren't the crew chief on this play, right?
Yeah, so the protocol would be for the calling official and the crew chief to go to the monitor. So in this scenario, we had the crew chief was the one that actually made the call on the floor. And since the other official was involved in the play, then I felt like it was the right thing for them two to be at the monitor. I think
that's the protocol.
It really needs it needs to be your crew chief, and if the crew chief's the calling official, then it needs to be the next primary located official, in my opinion. There's like if just because I'm
good with that. That's our protocol. I assumed when you said the other two would go, you were not the crew chief on this game.
Right. Yeah. So
I just wanted to say, if you are, obviously you're gonna go.
Well, right. So, but that's, for people that are working to get towards games that have monitors in them, that's the protocol. So whenever you get in those games, and Al talked about, potentially practicing the monitor situation. I know that sounds crazy, but Al, I actually think we can practice going to the monitor. And, I've been somewhere before. They used to do a crew chief camp in Daytona Beach, Florida. Eric Lewis, JB Caldwell, some of those guys, and they would actually set up a monitor simulation, and it's one of the best experience. I was doing JUCO and Division II basketball at the time, and I had no experience with monitors, and my first experience came there practicing, and they would show a play at a monitor at a table, and we would follow the protocols, and a group of 3 would practice going to the monitor. And we would simulate the play, and one person would be the calling official, one person would be the crew chief, and we would follow the whole thing. So people at home, as we continue to battle through all this and we work remote, if you can find a group of people, maybe it's just 3 people, or if you just practice by yourself and pretend that there's 2 partners with you, it sounds crazy, but I think we can do it.
That's a great point, Hunter. I know role playing has been a big factor, at least in my career so far, and I know it's helped me tremendously. So that is so true. Now going back to watching this play on a mechanical standpoint, I know Amy said earlier we weren't ready, right? We're so early in the game. I mean, right now we want Trail to be 2 or 3 strides behind the ball, right? So here as he's getting trapped, the Trail continues to go towards the division line rather than just staying back here, right? So I think very important, we need to make sure that we're trailing the play as a trail. It's another thing that I noticed here. And you can see center slot starts, he's looking here, but I'm not sure if the trail was just kind of giving that responsibility to the slot at this point, because like I said, he continues to go forward and now he's having to hustle down to the end line. So that was just another little thing that I noticed on here.
Yeah, I think slot needs to be, when the trap's occurring, I think slot needs to be closer to the division line in that scenario. And, knowing that, and this is another thing too, is recognizing that they're pressing. This is not the first possession that they pressed. Their first basket also came off a similar situation. So, if you're in slot, recognizing the teams in the pressing situation, and then where do you need to be? And, right here, the second defender is right at the midcourt line, and Trail's a long way away. So being able to come up near that midcourt line in this scenario and helping the Trail, it only puts us in a better position if there's a steal, which there was here.
Hey, Hunter.
What's up, man?
Was this the first time you had Georgia Southern this year?
No.
So, in pregame, how would you have discussed? Because, Georgia Southern's pretty notorious for running this press right here on the trap at the division line. How would you discuss it in pregame to be ready for this play?
Yeah, I think in all pregames, if you have the knowledge of team personnel and player personnel, coaching scheme, if that can be discussed, anything that we can do to put in our arsenal to help us in the game, I think it needs to be discussed. Only because if we can anticipate what's going to happen, it only makes us more prepared when the plays occur. We're not doing anything wrong. We're not sharing information with anybody outside of our room. And I think it's perfectly okay to do that.
So, Hunter, what did y'all go with on this play?
We went flagrant 1.
I would agree with that.
And, another thing here, too, is going back to monitor protocol, and this is a situation where the coach from White, he didn't agree with the flagrant one situation. So, which was, it happens for whatever reason. Sometimes they don't want to agree, and I've seen in the past where people have brought two coaches together at the end of situations like this, and they explain what they're doing to both coaches. I think this is I think this situation to where once the crew comes together and makes their decision, one person, and whether it's the crew chief, the calling official, it doesn't really matter to me, needs to go talk to and tell White's coach what we're doing. Another official needs to go tell Georgia Southern's coach what we're doing, and then the third official needs to communicate with the table. And then also, if there's TV talent, you can get to them last and give them the information so they can share it with TV. But bringing the coaches together after monitors, I think is normally not a good situation.
I would just throw in on that because I'm a bit of a control freak. I'm good whether you bring the coaches together or not on this play, whatever your supervisor wants. But if you are not going to bring the coaches together, I think the crew chief needs to be the one. This is just my opinion. I think the crew chief needs to be the one that goes to the coach who's being penalized. So in this case, crew chief goes to the coach of White to give that explanation. Just because you're the leader on the floor, you're the one that has to talk to the supervisor. And again, as a control freak, if I'm the crew chief, I want to control, I want to dictate the dialogue and give the rule and make sure that we get the correct information. When I have to pick up the phone and call my boss to explain what happened on this play.
Does anybody think that it's not a flagrant one?
He's not even I mean, this kid is not going to try to defend between the player and the basket. Like, he's going to get this kid. You can tell by his path, his trajectory. He's pissed off. He's embarrassed. He's going to get this guy.
Yeah. Does anybody think it's a flagrant two?
No.
I don't have
I agree.
Okay, so does somebody want to take a shot? Someone on the men's side, how are we going to administer this flagrant one? What's your protocol or your ruling?
2 shots. Player that got offended, 2 shots, and the ball's put at the 3-foot tick mark on the end line.
All right, Garrett. So let me jump in a little further. So the shooter cannot shoot his free throws. So now the rule gets a little deeper on who's going to shoot the free throws. And, that's where we got to know the difference between a common foul, a foul with blood, and a foul that is flagrant. So in this scenario, the coach from Georgia Southern could have let anybody shoot the free throws on his team. So
that player couldn't shoot him?
Yeah, he was hurt. He was down for the count.
Gotcha.
Any player or sub?
Any player.
Any player.
Any player. If it's blood, the sub shoots, and if it's a common foul, then the coach chooses from the other 4 on the court. So there's 3 different options when and the men's college rule book.
The opposing coach.
The opposing coach.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. You just said coach. I just wanted to clarify.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So. The coach from, in this case, Louisiana Lafayette would choose from the 4 on the court. So this goes back to what we talked about is how can we help our crew? We got to know what players were on the court when we go to the monitor, because now if we go common foul and this guy can't shoot, now we're in a situation to where we have to know the 4 that were previously on the court. Sometimes your book can help with that, but just having that knowledge sometimes helps as well. But yeah, I mean, knowing the rule. Garrick, also here, what would you do with the shot clock?
Sorry, I'm texting. Hold on. Where was it at?
It was at about 27.
Stays at 27. Mm-hmm. Or, yeah.
On a flagrant foul even?
Yeah, so since it's a foul in the front court, it's still a personal foul in the front court.
So that would be different in women's
Right.
and in pro. It's a full reset in both those games.
Yeah. In the men's game, it follows the same protocol as any personal foul that's being put in the front court. So it
wouldn't go to 20 because the ball hit the rim.
Yeah, I mean,
the foul occurs before the ball.
I don't know if you can really. I don't know if you can really do that or not. I think you really got to follow the protocol of the foul more than the shot.
Yes.
You'd be well for one. The foul occurs before the rim hit,
Correct.
and you'd be penalizing the offense that way.
Right.
That's like saying if you made it, are you going to put it at 30 now? You know, what I mean, so you can't really do that.
Right.
But thanks, guys.
Okay, Kara, are you on? Do you want to take a shot at how we would administer this on the women's side? Or anyone else on the women's side?
Well, we would shoot 2 free throws, and then we would actually have the administrator throw in at the division line opposite table. The team.
Okay, can anybody shoot?
Anybody can shoot.
Anybody.
Okay.
Anybody on the team,
That's right.
not just on the floor. Just to clarify.
Yeah.
Stuff. Okay.
And then go to the spot, the tick mark under the basket, right? Because it's closest to where the foul occurred.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Okay, Wayne, do you want to go ahead and pull up the last clip that we have here?
Hey, and just to round that out, in FIBA, they go to the 28-foot mark.
Look at you, Amy. You know it. You're like Al.
FIBA would go to they call it the 14-foot line.
Actually, it's not. It's got a different line. It doesn't have a number in it anymore.
Right.
But it's at the 28-foot mark.
Right.
Not free throw lane line extended. It used to be midcourt.
Right. And wherever that number occurs, they actually go back to 14 every time.
On a unsportsmanlike foul?
On an unsportsmanlike and disqualifying it, the penalty is 2 shots and reset to 14.
Front court throw.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Patrick, where you at? Jump in on that.
He's correct. Throw in line with 14.
Throw in line, that's what they call it.
Yeah, throw in line to 14.
Okay.
So Blanca, so since we're on this is interesting. In a pro game, let's say we adjudicate this to be a flagrant penalty 1. Okay, and the player's injured and they can't shoot. Who shoots? One of the 4. The offended coach chooses one of the 4.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
Okay. Now what happens to that sub? Can they come back in the game?
No, they cannot.
Okay. So when you're watching pro basketball, you wonder, why can't they come back in? That's the reason why. They just can't come back in unless for concussion protocol.
That's good. All right. Okay, guys, we have one last play, and I think we might have lost Wayne again, so I'll just go ahead and share my
Hey,
screen.
I'm still here. Do you want me to run the clip or do you want to run it?
Oh, I got it. I got it pulled up. Can you guys see my screen okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, Brian, are you on?
I'm on.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so we'll run through this a couple of times, and then if you don't mind breaking it down, B, that would be awesome. Okay, here we go.
Yikes. Twitching.
Well, I heard a ooh. I don't know who said that, but that's definitely probably a good sign that that we have something here more than just a common foul. Um, my position at lead, I know I'm seeing through the backs of the defender that's going for the rebound, and so when I come to center, I know I want to get to center and see what he has, his input on the play. I get to center and we talk as we're walking the table. We probably definitely, well, anytime we get together, we want to make sure we get the players separated. Um, so that was one thing that I think we could have done a better job of on that. Just be patient. But in talking with center, my verbiage to him was, "What do you have?" He let me know that he had the defender, the defender, put an arm on him and then push him through. Basically, he was saying it's a common foul. Um, him having the best look at it, looking through it, and me looking at the backside. I mean, I wasn't. I might even said, "You want to go to the monitor?" He said, "No, we're good with just the, he just pushed him something." I don't remember the exact verbiage, but I know we did not go to the monitor on this play, and I reported a common foul on this play, and this was a great learning experience for me. This is at the beginning of the season. This was a great learning experience for me. This was probably the first foul of the game, and so know your personnel. I mean, Hunter, you said a lot of things, but know your personnel is huge. This is the first time, and this is a new guy for their team, our first time to have him. But as the game went on, this was our disruptor. And so we can't let time and score be a factor in what our decision making is. But the biggest takeaway for me is if it's in your gut, Hunter, you also said as far as the rule stuff, that's so important because that's our guide for when we move forward. So knowing that something tripped my trigger and didn't feel right, we need to go to the monitor. And so my takeaway from this deal is just let's go look at the monitor. I mean, his input, I want his input, but I know we need to go to the monitor. So let's go to the monitor, and then we can discuss it when we get there. But open that up to you guys.
Something I throw out in my pre-games anymore because for this reason exactly, is if someone says we can go to the monitor, for me, especially as a crew chief, that's a trigger to go to the monitor. Not like open for discussion. That's now a trigger. If someone in their gut says something that thinks this could be a monitor play, it's a trigger, let's go. Because now when you look at this at halftime or after the game, you're like, holy shit, I knew something was wrong. So trust your gut, and if you don't have that input, say the crew chief on this game is the new lead going the other way and doesn't have any input, and it's not about being disrespectful to the center who says I have a look at it. It's about doing what's right for the game. And we've all looked at plays that we think we have a look at it, and then it's not what it is when we get there. So if you come to me and say we can go look at it, I'm going to look at it.
Right. And this was the, as far as we had a triple whistle on here, and this was the play. This was a play where I didn't even know Trail had a whistle until when we started talking about it. And I don't even get his opinion, but definitely get your third's opinion on it if you are that official, and maybe you don't get the feedback you want. I mean, obviously, us just going to the monitor, we eliminate all that. But, the third's input on that, definitely something that we want to get to help us figure out how we're going to handle this play.
Yeah. The other thing that stands out, and I couldn't see the trail because I have my chat box up there, but the other piece that stood out is when you guys come together, all the players are behind you.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what was making me twitch a little bit, more so than, plays.
Right.
Not very nice. But, this piece right here, because if you come hit me in the chops like that, I'm getting up. And I'm a woman, I may not come get you immediately, but I'm coming to get you.
Mm-hmm.
So we gotta watch.
And I thought something that was really important that Brian said is, especially for us that are coming up and aren't always crew chiefs, is just having that intestinal fortitude to just follow your gut, right? And when you go and talk to your co-official, say, I want to go look at this, not, hey, do you think we should? I think that definitely makes a big difference. And it's obviously easier said than done, but I want to encourage you guys to just do that, because a lot of the times your gut will be right.
That's a great point, Paul.
And you just got we just got confirmation from Amy as far as being a crew chief. Obviously, something that we want to talk about pregame. Hey, if we bring that up, we're on the same page. If someone has a trigger that they want to go look, it's a non-issue. We're going to go look. So you heard from Amy saying that's what we're going to do. So as being a young official, make sure we have that out there, and then just go with it.
Hey, Brian.
Yes, sir.
Was this the first? Is this the first half?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just think about this. I want everyone to think about this. Okay. If as a crew you come up with a flagrant, I think the reason everyone doesn't come out with a flagrant one is also psychological. Wow, we have a flagrant one to start this early in the game. And you can't get fooled by that. But just think about this. If your crew, if they came up with a flagrant one right here, right? I bet you, because I've seen a lot of games, I bet you would have had no problem the rest of the game.
Right. And we had to deal with him, though. I mean, he was out. I mean, their whole team, they took on that mentality, and not penalizing that properly just led to other unnecessary over physicality stuff. A lot of stuff that fits in our definitions of, unavoidable or avoidable, uncalled for, too much, unwarranted. And we set the tone right there. It definitely would have helped our first half be a lot smoother.
So, Blanca, if I may, I don't tell war stories, but may I tell one?
Yes.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
I never tell war stories when I referee, but one day I was refereeing Morgan State in Hampton. And back then, there was no flagrant fouls. And the first foul of the game, I had an intentional foul. And I called in both schools. They didn't like one another. First foul of the game, bang, intentional. And I went to the table and I said, I've never seen this in a game before. We're starting this game off with an intentional foul. And the rest of the game was like a tennis match. You didn't hear anybody.
They're not messing with you, Al.
So just think about that. And I was working with Glenn Gladden. He said, I've never seen that happen in a game before. And I said, yeah, I never either. He said, no one said a word the rest of the game. So that's what it reminded me of. Sorry.
That's good, and that's a great point, because calls like that, they definitely set a tone for the game, either good or bad, whether we choose to or not choose to make those decisions. So that's a really good point. Does anybody have any questions, any other thoughts for anyone here? That was a really good clip there, Brian. Thank you.
Blanca, I don't want your point to go unnoticed, and it was very subtle.
Garrick, I think you're muted.
I'm not muted.
Oh,
I can hear you.
So go
We're good. We're good.
back it up.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
AKA.
I don't want Blanca's point to go unnoticed about what she said earlier.
For years.
We shouldn't go to our partners with a question, and not to beat this up, what did you have? Things like that. We need to go with, definite knowledge. Situation like this, we need to go to the partner and say, I have unnecessary contact, or I have excessive contact. And now you put that, once you say that to Amy's point as well, that triggers that we need to get to the monitor. And as a crew chief, I sign off on this game. We've got it there. I think the monitor gets a bad rap. It's there. Let's use it. We need it. It helps us out. It can get us out of a lot of situations. And once again, I know there's people on here that don't use the monitor or don't have the benefit of it, and that's why we need to put ourselves in dependable positions. We need to be ready to referee as soon as that jump ball occurs, because you just set the tone with the play like that, and now your credibility just goes through the roof. That's something the past couple of years I like to think that I have taken upon myself. If I'm not the crew chief and I'm with a Mike Millione or a Hunter Allen, and they're the crew chief, and I have something that I need to go look at, guys, I want to go look at this. We need to look at this because it just protects us all. So for someone, we're early in the game. Now we'll just call it foul here. Well, now your game just goes to crap. So to Blanca's point, don't come to someone with a question, or I think the rule is this. Don't be thinking, be knowing. So I'm done.
I like that. That's good.
Nice sign off, G.
Okay, does anybody have anything else? If not, Wayne, do you want to go ahead and close?
Sure. I agree with Gary. That's an excellent point. Great discussion today. Thank you to everyone for participating and sharing. Apologize for the Wi-Fi issues. I think we may have gotten that fixed. But, it's like everything else. We experience the challenges and everything that we do. We got to do what we can to overcome them. Thank you again. Great discussion. Everyone continue to have a great week. Once again, if you have any questions about anything, reach out. Ask the question.
Real quick, we do have a question. James is wondering why that last play is not a flagrant 2.
I think
James' question is why we did not have an F2.
Yes.
No, because the same reason we didn't have an F1, we didn't go to the monitor. If we went, I think it's a great question. If we go to the monitor, so he does clench his fist, he does go at the player's chest. So does that meet to the level of severe and brutal and harsh? I don't know, but definitely, but something for discussion.
Yes, I agree. And then if we had gone to monitor, at least we would have had an opportunity to pass judgment on that observation. And everything goes back to the very beginning of the play, and all the observations we shared so far on that play is that we didn't follow our triggers. We felt it, we just didn't follow through. And there could be a variety of reasons why we didn't. But if we had, at least we would have had an opportunity to make that judgment on that play or not. F1 or F2. Coming out of it, we would have that information. At least we would know. Great question. Are there any other questions before we close for the day? All right, people. Hey, thank you very much. Thank you for attending. Thank you for participation. And hey, everyone, thank you for all the information that you shared with everyone. Have a great week. Look out for one another. Let's care for each other. Let's stay in touch with one another. Until next week, we'll see you guys soon. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys.
Thank you. See everybody later.
Bye.